In many social situations, people often assume that the person who speaks the most must also understand the most. Confidence in conversation can easily create that impression. Someone who talks quickly, responds immediately, and fills every silence may appear knowledgeable and decisive. Yet real understanding does not always announce itself through constant speech. In fact, some of the most perceptive individuals in any room are often the ones who speak the least. They observe quietly, listen carefully, and process information before reacting. This difference between speaking and understanding is not accidental. It often reflects how experience shapes the way people interact with the world. When individuals are younger, conversation can feel like a tool for exploration. People express ideas quickly because they are still discovering their own thoughts. Talking becomes a way of testing perspectives and learning through reaction. Each response from others helps refine their understanding of a situation. But as years pass and experiences accumulate, the relationship between thinking and speaking begins to change. Many individuals develop the ability to process complex information internally before expressing outwardly. Instead of reacting immediately, they pause to examine what is happening beneath the surface of a conversation. They notice tone, body language, emotional shifts, and subtle inconsistencies in what people say. These observations create a deeper context for understanding behavior. Speaking less allows them to maintain that awareness. Another important factor involves attention. Conversations often move quickly. Ideas appear, reactions follow, and topics shift before anyone has fully examined what was said. People who speak less frequently tend to dedicate more attention to listening. Instead of preparing their next response while someone else is talking, they remain focused on absorbing the entire message. This type of listening reveals details that others might overlook. Small pauses, changes in voice, or contradictions between words and actions can signal deeper meaning. Over time, individuals who cultivate this attentiveness become skilled at interpreting the emotional and psychological layers of communication. Their understanding grows not from speaking more, but from observing more carefully. Experience also teaches an important lesson about information. Not every thought needs to be expressed immediately. Many conversations contain ideas that require reflection before they can be fully understood. People who have developed patience with their own thinking often allow time for ideas to settle before responding. This delay can appear as silence in a fast-moving discussion, but internally it reflects a more deliberate form of thinking. Instead of reacting impulsively, they evaluate the situation from multiple perspectives. This process leads to responses that are often fewer in number but greater in depth. Emotional awareness plays another role in why some people speak less. Conversations are not only about exchanging information, they're also about navigating feelings, expectations, and social dynamics. When someone becomes skilled at reading these dynamics, they may realize that speaking frequently can sometimes disrupt the balance of a situation. A single comment can shift the emotional direction of an entire discussion. Because of this awareness, individuals who understand social environments well often choose their words carefully. They speak when their contribution is meaningful rather than simply filling silence. This restraint can make them appear quiet, but their quietness often reflects respect for the complexity of human interaction. Over time, people who observe more than they speak begin noticing patterns in behavior. They recognize how certain types of statements influence reactions. They see how emotions move through groups of people during conversation. These patterns reveal insights that are not immediately obvious to those focused only on expressing their own ideas. As a result, the individual who speaks less gradually develops a broader perspective on human communication. They are not detached from the conversation. Instead, they are viewing it from a wider angle. This wider perspective allows them to understand both what is being said and why it is being said. Their silence becomes a space where observation, interpretation, and reflection combine into deeper understanding. As individuals continue developing this observational awareness, they often discover another surprising effect of speaking less. Conversations around them begin to change. When someone does not compete for attention or interrupt frequently, others feel more comfortable expressing their thoughts. Silence creates room for people to elaborate on ideas that might otherwise remain unspoken. The quiet listener becomes a kind of anchor within the discussion. Their presence signals patience and attentiveness. Because they are not rushing to respond, others sense that their words will be heard rather than challenged immediately. This environment encourages more honest communication. People reveal more about their perspectives, motivations, and emotions when they feel genuinely listened to. Over time, the individual who speaks less gains access to a broader range of information simply because others trust the space created by their listening. Another reason speaking less can lead to deeper understanding involves cognitive clarity. When someone is constantly preparing responses during conversation, their mental attention becomes divided. Part of the mind focuses on listening, while another part is already constructing the next statement. This divided attention can reduce the accuracy of perception. Important details may be missed because the mind is busy preparing to speak. Individuals who allow themselves to listen fully without rushing to respond experience a different mental state. Their attention remains centered on the unfolding conversation. This uninterrupted focus improves memory, interpretation, and emotional awareness. Over time, these individuals develop a stronger ability to recognize patterns within complex discussions. They notice when ideas connect, when emotions shift, and when assumptions influence the direction of conversation. These insights often remain invisible to those who are focused primarily on expressing themselves. Another transformation appears in how people interpret authority within conversations. In many environments, speaking frequently is associated with confidence and leadership, yet experienced individuals often realize that true authority does not require constant speech. Someone who speaks occasionally but thoughtfully can influence a conversation more effectively than someone who dominates it. When words are rare, they carry greater weight. Listeners pay closer attention because the speaker is known to contribute only when something meaningful needs to be said. This dynamic can change the rhythm of an entire discussion. The quiet observer becomes a source of considered insight rather than continuous commentary. Another dimension of understanding emerges through patience. Complex ideas often require time to reveal their full meaning. Quick reactions may capture only the surface of a situation. By allowing silence to exist within conversation, individuals give themselves space to recognize deeper connections. They can see how different viewpoints relate to each other, how emotional reactions influence reasoning, and how unspoken assumptions shape decisions. This broader awareness enables them to respond in ways that address the underlying issue rather than only the immediate statement. As a result, their contributions may appear less frequent but more impactful. People who cultivate this approach to communication often discover that their quietness becomes a form of strength. Instead of competing for attention, they command it through presence. Others begin noticing that when this person speaks, the comment often clarifies something that had previously been misunderstood. The insight appears simple, but it reflects careful observation that occurred while others were busy speaking. Over time, this pattern builds trust. Colleagues, friends, and family members recognize that the quiet individual sees connections others might overlook. Their words carry credibility because they are grounded in attentive listening rather than impulsive reaction. Ultimately, speaking less while understanding more is not about avoiding conversation. It is about approaching communication with intention. Words become tools used carefully rather than automatically. Silence becomes part of the conversation rather than an absence from it. Within that silence, the mind remains active, observing, interpreting, and learning. And through that process, individuals discover that understanding often grows most clearly in the moments when they are not speaking at all.